Welcome to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Hello there, and welcome to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast with your host, Rob and
Randy. What's up, guys?
Today, we've got a holiday edition of the Happy Healthy Life Podcast. We're going to talk about 4 steps today to help you be healthy during the holidays and enjoy the holidays at the same time. A lot of times, it seems like people around not Thanksgiving, but really it's around Halloween. It's like Halloween hits and then everybody goes on vacation, right? And the problem with, you go on a vacation, you leave, you go for a couple of days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, but you always come back. But what a lot of people do is they go on this health vacation. They never actually come back from that vacation. I don't call that a vacation. I call that moving.
Yeah, that's literally from Halloween to New Year's. It's like a 2-month free for all. Like you're on the vacation, there are no rules. You're making terrible decisions. And you think about taking, 2 to 3 months, that's 1/4 of your year. And then doing that every single year, think about what you're doing to your health, your metabolic profile, to really putting yourself in a bad position, starting off the new year, which everybody's like, now I need to lose this weight. So what a better way, let's navigate a better way to go into the holidays, enjoy yourself, and have a great time with your friends and family. Hopefully everybody listening, you've got great friends, you've got great family. Having those are more valuable than anything. I'm so thankful that you and I both have great centers where we can show up, for sure, have family and friends and enjoy that time. I mean, I'm going to have like 40 or 50 people at my mom's this weekend. She's a great host in Texarkana, Texas. She's got the 40 acres.
Freddie is amazing.
The horses, the lake, all the fun stuff, and all the kids and everything. It'll be a blast. But there will be a lot of food and a lot of decisions to be made, and I'm looking forward to it.
Let's talk about making better decisions, right? Or great decisions as you're enjoying your time. And I just did the math on that. So if you take off three months out of the year and you do that over 10 years, what you're doing is you're taking 2.5 years off when it comes to your health. Think about that for a second. 2.5 years, a lot of bad stuff can happen if you're just unintentional with your health for that period of time.
Yeah. And remember, it's not exactly how long you live, because nobody really knows how long you're going to live, but it's the quality of life that you have.
Always.
So you think about if you're going to live to be 90, 95, 100 years old, you don't even know. You may just keep living no matter what. What type of health do you want to have? Because if you ask most people, Rob, and say, hey, raise your hand if you'd want to live to be 95 years old, almost everybody in the room, and we've done it many a time, they don't raise their hand because they're already miserable at 40, 50, and 60, and they've seen it play out with their parents and grandparents. They're like, heck no, I don't want to live to be 95 years old if I'm arthritic, depressed, overweight, miserable. I'm not having fun. I don't like how I'm living. That's not living. So quality of life starts with the conversations we're having today and doing the right things over and over and over. The little things do make the difference.
Yeah. And think about this. When you said that, the 2 biggest reasons that we get for people not wanting to live to 95 was the one that you just said, which is the quality of life. And the other one that they always said is, I'm not going to afford to be able to live to 95 years old. But here, the biggest cause of bankruptcy in the United States is bankruptcy due to medical costs. Yeah. And so it's trying to take care of that person in the nursing home, get the medications, the surgeries, all those different things cause people to go bankrupt. So
you're one diagnosis away. Literally, you're one diagnosis away in our country from being bankrupt potentially. And then on top of that, the number one cause of divorce are financial problems. Totally. So it's just, you can see when you start to lose your health and lose control, the ability to navigate your own health journey, and you turn your health over to the system, the government, the pharmaceutical companies, the Western medicine, you're literally playing Russian roulette with your life, your health, your family, and all the people who depend on you.
You absolutely are. And you ask people who are very wealthy on their deathbed, if there was one thing that they could have done different, what do they all say? I would have taken better care of my health, because here I am on my deathbed right now, and I can't even enjoy the wealth that I do have because I don't have any health. So let's get into it. Let's talk about health. So point number 1 of the 4 things to get you through the holidays and have you thrive through the holidays. Number 1 is that hard times are significantly better than the good times because they give you the skills. Think about this for a second. Yes, do we all want to be having, living every day is like, sunshine and fairy tales, pixie dust, rainbows, the whole bit? Yeah, absolutely. We want that. However, it's in those times where you really don't learn anything. No. So here's what we've learned through the years, how to be able to get us through these times like right now, through the holidays, is these challenges that we've had in our life. So specifically, let's talk about one of the biggest challenges that you've ever had in your life. Could have been the biggest one, I don't know.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that challenge and then what you learned from that.
Yeah. So before I do that, let me say this. A lot of times you think the challenge that you're in is the hardest thing you'll ever go through. And what I found out when I got sick and lost my health with the cancer diagnosis, I probably thought at that moment, and I know I did, that was going to be the hardest thing that I was ever going to have to overcome. And now looking back on it, here's what I know is that the only thing really guaranteed in life is adversity, and it is going to happen. And you're going to have multiple hard times that you're going to have to face and go through. And it's different for all of us. Everybody probably has a sad story or something that overwhelmed them. But specifically going back to that hard time, one of the things that I had to do in that moment was really get my mind retrained about what an opportunity that this was going to be, to really find out more about who I am and what I'm made of and what is my commitment to doing whatever it takes. And it challenged me, Rob, in all those areas. So I had to face my fears. Think about that. How many of us just avoid our fears? So I had to take on the fear that you may die. They told me literally, you have a lethal diagnosis. And if you can imagine, if I'd have held on to that mindset and kept saying that to myself over and over, I probably wouldn't even be here today. But I needed to look at cancer and what I was going through completely different, because I knew that cancer didn't make me sick, that I was already sick. There were problems, and that's why the cancer developed. So that time in my life that was very, very hard and very challenging and very scary, I developed a nasty skill set, my man, because I got so confident. When you can overcome something like that, where they're literally telling you it's over and you come out of that, as scary and as hard as it was, man, I am unstoppable at this moment. So I developed a confidence and a skill set that I could have never, ever developed. Plus, on top of that, a whole new way to help people metabolically that obviously you and I are doing to this very day that probably would have never even happened. So there's a lot of good that came out of that moment in my life. And the hard was the best thing I could have done, because the easy is never where you learn. You always learn in the hard. And it's really easy to fall back into where you're comfortable in life. Things that push you out of your comfort zone and challenge you are where you can develop a whole new skill set. So I may be rambling a little bit, but I think that's so critical to realize that. Change the way you look at what you're going through in that moment of your life. Look at that. Hey, this is a real opportunity to develop a skill set that I never possessed.
Yeah. So for the listeners that don't know, so July of 2010, Randy was diagnosed with metastatic cancer.
Yeah.
And so that's a diagnosis that people are like, oh my God. But like you just said, that took us to learning from a medical doctor in Spain who was treating people holistically for cancer, and learning from him was able to teach us a whole new mindset, because something that happens when, like if you were like we were before that, very successful chiropractic offices, two of the largest practices in the country,
sure,
you get that. Well, we just heard this guy talk about this at the seminar that we were at with Ed Milet, Andy Frisella. Robert Greene talked about the Napoleonic complex, where you start doing so great that you stop learning.
Yeah.
You stay stagnant. And when you stop learning, the reason you stop learning is because really ego has replaced your purpose. Yeah. I'm too good for that stuff. So if you would have said, hey, learn from this medical doctor from Spain while we were in the practice, doing really well, helping thousands of people, I probably would have said, he doesn't know what he's talking about because of that Napoleonic complex. And it took going through something really challenging to go, you know what? I don't know everything, and I do have things that I need to learn. So you can always be learning, and it's those challenging times that help us to learn. So if you're in a challenging situation right now as we speak, and I know I'm talking to at least one person that's listening, you're going through a challenging time, ask yourself the question, what am I learning because of this right now? What can I learn because of this? Or who has been where I'm at right now, who I could reach out to be able to get help? And maybe they can teach me something, but I guarantee that person is there. And if you're like us, we want nothing more than to help those people who are right now where we've been, because we're most capable and qualified to be able to help that person.
Yeah, like we said on the last podcast, we are your future. We already know where you were and where you are now and how to get to where we have been, because we overcame maybe the same thing you may be going through. But my ego got hit hard because, I was the guy, and, I'm taking care of all these patients, seeing incredible results with moms, dads, and families, helping people live outrageous health. And now I'm the guy they're saying it's over, that you lost your health. So my ego had to take a hit to go, you know what? I need to learn a whole new skill set to overcome what I'm going through. Because clearly, if what you're doing isn't working, it's time to do something different. So I definitely had to swallow my own ego and say, you know what? I need to learn. I need to humble myself, go find somebody who can help me get to where I want to be. And that obviously was Dr. Helu in Spain. Pretty awesome that happened for me. Very, very thankful. But at the same time, I know a lot of people that I've even told about who've been reached out to me, who've got these chronic illnesses, late stage cancers, autoimmune conditions, you name it. And I've referred them over to go see this doctor. And they're like, well, let me think about it. Or let me do a little more research. And I'm like, listen, I'm telling you, I've been where you are right now. These are the steps that I took to turn everything around. You don't need more research. You don't need more time. Time is actually what you're losing. Go take action. And I think that's one of the bigger problems in life is we let ego put us into stall patterns, acting like we have to find out more info versus going, wait a second, that person's been there and done that. I'm going to follow their advice and humble myself and do exactly what they told me to do.
I think, and I was reading something that said recently, it said how we've been taught that knowledge is power, right? So, we see this all the time. Research, people think is power. No, knowledge is not power. Yeah. Knowledge is potential power. Yep. Knowledge does nothing if you don't do anything with it. So it's taking that step, that action step. Sometimes you may need to take that action step and you have no idea what the outcome is going to be.
No clue.
But if you've got somebody that's already been there and they're saying, hey, move so that you can be able to overcome whatever that diagnosis is or that challenge is, then you should probably move in that direction. You'll even hear people talking about building wealth, for example. People are like, oh, I don't have enough money to invest, for example. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that if you're investing even $1 today and $1 tomorrow, that compounds and builds and builds and builds. All you have to do is do it the first time, right? Yep. Take that first step. So ask yourself, what do I need to learn in this hard time right now? Take the step and then consistently keep on doing that every single day. And that right there is what builds your discipline. So the next thing to overcome the challenges of the holidays is to really have a culture of competition, right? And so for us, I think, we want to make sure that our weight loss program is legendary. It's better than everybody else is out there on the market. And I know you believe that it absolutely is. And so there's a lot of different weight loss programs out there. So I love the competition and being able to go, you know what, ours is better than theirs. And even studying what it is that they're doing so that we know that ours is better, because what we do know about theirs already is that it's all about just reducing calories. It's calories in, calories out, no matter how you slice it. And the reality is that ours is about getting you healthy from above down and inside out, getting to the cause, getting your body healthy. So the side effect is now your metabolism is working the way it's supposed to, fast, healthy, and now your body is losing weight because it's actually burning the calories that you're putting in versus storing those calories as fat.
Yeah, no, and a prime example of that is when I walked in earlier this morning into our Grapevine office where we are right now. One of our clients was out front with her and her husband. And I walked in and I just left the gym. I'd done my workout. I had gone for a walk. And I came in, I actually dressed just like I am now. And she goes, I guess she probably came in from TV and knew who I was. And she's like, okay, now you definitely follow the program. And I was like, I do follow the program. And I said, you know what? It's really important that one of the ways you and I both lead is by example, by following what we say that we need to do. Plus, I'm not going back to the before cancer guy who is breaking all the metabolic rules and thinking I could get away with it. So I take it super seriously, but it was cool. So I got to turn the conversation into, yes, I lead by example. How is your result in the office? And so she told me that she had gone to her doctor, gotten blood work. Her doctor said, you got diabetes in your family. All your numbers are off. Your A1C is too high. You're resting. Your fasted insulin is high. Your fasting blood glucose is high. All the markers and inflammatory markers were off the charts bad. And she said, you're going to have to now start taking medication. And we talked about this in one of our previous podcasts. Yes. She was going to put her on, I think it's Ozempic. Ozempic, yes. And of course, that's a diabetes medication for somebody who doesn't even have diabetes, who's got a horrible metabolic profile. And she had just visited our office and told her doctor, hey, I want to try the Happy Healthy Thin program. I really believe that I can turn this around. Her doctor was like, well, I don't really know anything about that. You really need to be more serious about this and start taking the medication. And then, of course, if you're more serious about it, then you would actually not take the medication and fix your crap, which she was willing to do. So she swallowed her ego and said, you know what? I'm going to lean on these experts. I'm going to trust the science, which really our science is beautiful because science isn't ever settled. When facts show up that contradict the hypothesis, then those facts need to be looked at. And we know you can't fix metabolic problems by drugging people with a bunch of oral therapy, which is their cute way of saying, take drugs the rest of your life. Long story short.
So you're saying you can't drug someone into health?
Yeah, that would be really, really amazing. Because if you could, we'd be the healthiest country in the world. And we are the sickest. And we take so many freaking medications. I think the average American takes 5 to 6 prescription drugs. We don't take any. So somebody's getting our share. But so she does the program. She said she lost 22 pounds on the program. Pretty freaking cool. And all her new blood work is completely clean and clear.
There you go.
All the numbers back in range. And her doctor was like, holy smokes, what are you doing? It went right over her doctor's head.
Because of medical impossibility.
Yeah, they don't have the tools or the knowledge to correct a metabolic profile. They're going to give you drugs. It's just what they do. And that it doesn't make them bad people, right? Sure. If you're a mechanic, if you go to your mechanic and say, hey, cut my hair, and your mechanic's like, well, I don't have any training in that, that doesn't make your mechanic a bad person. Right. They just don't have any training in how to cut hair. Your doctor doesn't have training in how to fix metabolic problems and naturally, holistically. They're trained to diagnose and treat disease with drugs and surgery. So she was able to avoid all of that. Her doctor said, you're no longer pre-diabetic. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And she was overjoyed because her confidence now is through the roof. It was pretty cute because her husband was right there beside her. And she kind of looked over him and goes, I'm definitely more confident. I think I know what they were talking about. But it was really cool to see that play out. But I loved it to hear from her, one of our clients. I didn't expect that this morning. So I wanted to share that on the podcast. Because that's somebody now who's got a brand new rocket metabolism going into the holidays with a real strategy and a game plan.
I love that too. And it goes back to that element of competition, especially when you have a husband and wife, because they're going to be competing, who's going to get the better results. Right. And so same thing, even with us, I'm always going, okay, if Randy's doing that, I'm going to be doing that. It's just that level of competition, just raising the standard, which, you even talked about the next point, which was the leading by example, and really is living your life at a higher standard than anyone else. And be the person who you want to follow, which is exactly what it is that you're talking about right now. Because when you're that person that you want to follow, other people are going to be following you. It's just how it works. Yep. You're talking about Thanksgiving, for example. I'm sure people know, okay, Randy's going to be here. So there's different things that we're going to, or things that I would not normally do because I know he's going to be here. There's certain foods he's going to be eating or things that he's going to be avoiding. And other people will think twice, I'm sure, before going for the extra apple pie or pumpkin pie or whatever it is. And who knows what kind of ingredients are in those things, but there will be healthy options because you're there.
Yeah, no, when I show up, for sure. I even talked about this on the Jeff Crilly show this last week here in Dallas. By the way, most amazing studio maybe in the country.
It looked gorgeous.
Oh, then the hospitality there was incredible. So we talked about how to navigate some Thanksgiving and holiday stuff. But one of those things that we talked about was the conversation that I had with my late grandmother years ago when I really started embarking on my health journey, and I stopped eating grain, specifically corn, because she would always make me cornbread for Thanksgiving. And that was always my favorite. And I had to tell grandma, hey, I'm not eating corn anymore. And it was such a hard conversation because
like broke her heart.
She was like trying to give me food. I'm like, no, I said, but here's the thing. I still love your cooking and there's other things that I want. So that kind of started make sure I've got green beans cooked in some bacon fat, making sure I've got an organic free range turkey that's been, cooked down in grass-fed butter that's so moist and tender. My mom makes me this artichoke and an aged cheese like little casserole. It's really, really yummy. There's a cranberry salad my mom makes, fresh cranberries, cilantro, jalapenos. It's all fresh, real food. So that's now become the tradition over the last 20 years, which is really amazing. And then a lot of the family members and my cousins and friends, they're like, what is Randy going to eat? Yep. And they already know that I'm not messing around with this. I don't want to feel bad that day. I want to have good energy. Some of these are friends and family that I don't see but once a year. And if I pig out on a bunch of crap, I'm going to be tired. Everybody's asleep watching the Cowboys game. Nobody's socializing. They're on their phones. I want to be sharp, fresh, alert for the Thanksgiving holiday. So, but quick tip on that. Make sure, because everybody should have turkey. If you'll start eating the protein first, that's going to start to secrete enzymes and hormones that provide satiety, that help you feel full. So make sure, do not chintz out on the protein. If you'll make sure that you eat plenty of protein first, that's going to help maybe curb some of the cravings later where you may make a bad decision and not just have one piece of dessert. You may be going over there multiple times. So definitely a little quick tip. Make sure you get plenty of turkey on your plate.
And can I add, make sure that you also are basting your turkey with SET oil.
Well, I thought that went without saying, but
well,
yes.
Some people may not even have thought of that, but if you'll take the SET oil, melt it down and inject that straight into the turkey, it makes the juiciest turkey ever. And it's so freaking delicious.
I've got like a little SET oil dipping sauce that I dip it in because, turkey sometimes can be dry. Yeah. So I'll soak it up in the oil and then I'll eat it. So pretty amazing.
There you go. SEToil.com. All right.
Shameless plug.
All right. So next one is that our brains are wired for stability. Now, it's having the awareness that your brain is wired for stability. And the reason I say that is because our brain and our nervous system is wired to help try to keep us safe, right? Yeah. We've been like that. So, if there's the possibility that I could be eaten by a lion, obviously your brain is going to be wired to do things to keep you safe.
Sure.
But because of that, the brain doesn't like change. So we have to be aware of that because how we handle change is then going to depend on our perception or reality of the actual change itself. So here's what we mean by that. Let's say somebody comes in to do our program. Well, it's going to change possibly their belief, and their belief or perception is that genetically I'm supposed to be overweight.
Yeah.
So if I'm genetically supposed to be overweight, if I start doing these programs and start changing what it is that I've been doing, I'm probably going to gain the weight back. And so that right there then gives your brain permission to keep you comfortable, and you're going to then cheat because somewhere along the line, you've probably done some kind of a diet program that allowed you to have like a cheat day or like substitute one thing for something with artificial flavorings or colorings or preservatives or sugars or whatever is in there. So your brain will go back into that because that is how it's been trained, how it's been wired, and it wants to keep you comfortable.
And that's crazy to me, because you think about it, the place of comfort doesn't mean that you're actually comfortable.
No,
the place of comfort,
increasing pain.
It's still pain. It's just the pain that you're comfortable with, and the pain of making the change is which by the way is where all the great stuff happens. Is the pain you're avoiding to stay in the pain of comfort that isn't even serving you. That's how messed up our brain can get.
It's kind of like, all right, I'm just going to go to the gym and I'm just going to continue to keep on working out with the 2-pound weights because that feels really comfortable. But you know where that gets you? Nowhere, right? So there's zero growth in that. So head right into doing the hard thing that's different. Change what it is that you've been doing. Don't be satisfied with where it is that you're at, because Robert Greene even talked about that as we're talking about that Napoleonic syndrome that, earlier, is that's what happens to a lot of people is they get comfortable, even though they've had success or they've grown or maybe had success even with a diet program or whatever. They go back into doing that same thing and they're not getting the same results, right? Because they've
completely
gotten satisfied with that.
Yeah.
So if we're going to be successful, what he talked about is successful people, they're fluid, they're adapting. And even when there's a painful situation, they're still joyful. The Bible even talks about it. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials and tribulations of many kinds. How do you have joy in that? Well, joy doesn't necessarily equal happiness. Is that you're just joyful of being alive.
Yeah. If you're only happy when everything goes your way, you're just not happy and you don't really enjoy the journey of life.
Totally.
So yeah, when you get egocentric and you start getting lazy with your thoughts and you're no longer taking on challenges and learning, just go back and read about the Battle of Waterloo and what happened to Napoleon in his ultimate fall, because he had built this amazing empire and he was like just known for his strategies, like Robert Greene was talking about. But yeah, go read about the Battle of Waterloo. That's what happens when you get fat, lazy, and egocentric.
Absolutely. So be committed to doing those things that are different than what it is that you've been doing.
Going back to, doing what's hard to get to where you want to be, because you don't grow when you avoid challenges. That's why this whole, not to get off track, but really quickly, that's what this whole avoiding germs and bacteria and viruses to somehow strengthen your immune system by wearing some stupid mask or doing other measures that make no sense, or using hand sanitizers 24/7. Avoiding viruses and bacteria don't strengthen your immune system. You strengthen your immune system when you support your body metabolically and you go through challenges and you go through things and come out of it stronger. You can never, ever grow in life by avoiding challenges. It's just not going to happen.
No, absolutely not. So here's something that you can do and take action on. Okay. And this is a great time to do it because we've got Thanksgiving tomorrow. So Thanksgiving is a great time. This time of year is a great time to write down not just writing down the things that you're grateful for, write down all the things in your life that you're grateful for overcoming. Because whenever you do go through one of those challenging times, you can always come back to that list and go, oh, no, I actually have overcome whatever this challenge is right now. I've already overcome that. Or, in your case, you know what? I've overcome cancer. I can overcome it.
Dude,
anything.
What do I feel like I can't overcome at this point in my life? Heck, if I can overcome late stage cancer, do you think we can probably tackle this metabolic problem that's sweeping across our country that needs real help and real solutions? So yeah, to even take on that project that we did, the confidence knowing that we were going to figure it out had never been stronger because of what I had just gone through. And I think about all the areas of my life where I'm more confident, I'm stronger because of going through what I went through back over 12 years ago.
Yeah. And I think about that as we're even embarking into our virtual program that we'll be launching on January the 9th. We have a date on that. It's like, we overcame all the COVID stuff and having a clinic that's a brick and mortar clinic for people to come into, and people couldn't come in.
Yep.
We overcame that, but it was the challenges that we went through with that helped give us the skills to do this virtual program and figure out how to be able to help people all over the world versus people just right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we overcame that. There's been so many challenges over the last 5-7 years with our company that we've had to overcome to be able to get here. It's not always easy, and that's okay. I'm grateful for that. Right.
Yeah,
I have joy in that.
For sure. And even shared, like, because you went through the hard like crazy. There's a lot of that as well, but just metabolically speaking, for you, you've now kept 65 pounds off your body for a decade.
I have, with the exception of one time, one
Yes.
period. Let's talk about that challenge since we're talking about COVID. So re-injured my back going into COVID. It was May of 2020, May of 2020.
Yep.
We're playing golf. And it was Labor Day or Memorial Day weekend, Memorial Day Saturday.
I think my mom was with us maybe.
She was with us a couple weekends before that because
Okay.
we had been playing quite a bit of golf at that time. And I remember that Saturday morning very vividly. It was raining, so I couldn't warm up because the range was closed that day. First tee box, knees buckled. Couldn't play any more holes. Tried to play the next hole, which sucked because that drive on that first hole when I did it was beautiful. I was like,
I'm in trouble today.
It's like 75 yards out on the second shot, but could barely stand up. And
you were going to mop the golf floor with me that day.
So I couldn't swing anymore. So couldn't walk. And that right there was like, literally, went into this like a nightmare. And I can remember around that time as well, people couldn't come into the office. So we were doing phone consultations with people back to back 15-minute phone consultations. And I could remember having my computer, this laptop right here, on the ground inside the house as I was on my calls, writing down notes in just excruciating pain. So I would do a call, lay down and rest for a little bit. They were really fast phone calls because I couldn't focus very long. And so going through that and then having a surgery after that, tried to avoid surgery at all costs. June of that same year, not even a month later, a few weeks later, had a surgery, worst recovery ever, couldn't walk, still on medication, hadn't taken medication in 25, 30 years. Because of the side effects of the medication, as we always talk about, shut down my metabolism. My body was having to metabolize now oxycodone, all these other pain medications as well. I don't recommend these things, but thank God for knowing what it is that we know, because I was also able to get off those things very rapidly. And so literally I couldn't eat either, shut down my metabolism, and then ended up gaining weight. So I gained, I don't know, maybe like 25 pounds throughout that time period. And then coming back from that, doing our program, and then getting to my goal. And I'd never even done this before in my past, had always been to get to 12% body fat, and was able to get to 9% body fat doing that program. But it was going through that challenge of going, okay, how do we do this a better way? Here's what we know is that people don't have to come into the office to get success. So we learned that through that challenge, right? And so we could talk to people on the phone, or we could do things on the computer that we couldn't do before. And so now we can be able to have those same kind of conversations with people. And it took that challenge to go through that, and also to learn going through that, how to make our program better, to be able to make sure that we have more consistency with people, because we were then doing it. Then we did 75 hard doing the program, and all these little things that we did. And that's why they call it 75 hard. And it's the skills that we developed through doing that 75 hard, which has helped us now to what I believe is going to be the best weight loss program in the world that can be done virtually.
Legendary. I remember that hard, because I remember being in the office. You're on your back at home, COVID, all the government freaking lockdowns. And I remember calling you going, hey, I've had enough with this last staff member. And I literally fired the last staff member. So I'm like,
you did. And you were by yourself.
It's me. Rob's on his back. He's going to get well. What the heck are we going to do? And thinking about the pivot that happened, but man, think about what that created for us. Like you said, now we have a virtual platform that we've now been testing for over a year and seeing the same, if not even better results metabolically. And we're able to help people all over the world really right now which is really more congruent with our heart and our vision, is to help as many people as we possibly can live the happiest, healthiest life on the freaking planet. So yeah, the hard was overwhelming. We should just write a book called "Here's All the Hard," and it's overwhelming. But
and that's
wow,
the tip of the
iceberg,
growth
that it creates when you embrace it and look at it and know. And I liked what you said earlier about going back and writing down the things that you've overcome and the things where God has showed up and showed out. You're like, you know what? He's always been there. He's always helped me overcome, even in my worst moments where I thought I was either going to die, or I was going to lose a relationship or lose a business or go bankrupt, whatever it is. God has always showed up and delivered. He's never, ever let us down. If you look at his track record in our lives, and if you look at that, even if you're not a believer, I'm telling you, look at your track record. When you keep moving forward and see it differently in your mind, you've always overcome those things. You're stronger now than you can even possibly imagine.
Absolutely. And you never ever know how God's going to show out. And you're like, you look at how the outcome happened. You're like, man, like I could have never predicted how that was going to happen doing it my way. My way was not that path right there, but this is freaking amazing. I mean, even like my car being stolen whenever that was a few weeks ago,
right?
But because of my car getting stolen, I got to be able to get the vehicle that I've always wanted.
I know. It's pretty cool.
So, I mean, I couldn't have predicted that's the way that was going to happen, because I probably would have just hung on to the vehicle that I was in. And God was like, no, I'm going to allow that thing to be stolen because I've got something way better for you to give to you. And that's exactly, and I could have, I mean, who could predict getting a new car because you got your car stolen?
It's not the traditional path to getting a new vehicle, but yes, very effective.
Yeah, it is very effective. So God, thank you.
And I loved your attitude going through the whole thing, because you're like, I'm like, you got your car stolen. You're like, yeah, this is a great opportunity. I'm like, I like that.
It is a great opportunity. Sometimes we just got to let go of stuff, right? So just to be better. So you guys be better. Enjoy your holidays. You guys will be listening to this the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So this week, this is the Black Friday edition of the podcast. So you guys, hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah, great time to stock up on SCT oil. So Black Friday, go to sctoil.com. Make sure that you're using that daily. It's one of the secret ingredients and the weapons that we use in our own nutritional strategies. Remember, short chain fats, they are the molecular link between your nutrition, your gut-brain axis, and your overall health. They're vital. Your body needs them. They're great for your gut, your brain, your metabolism.
Yep.
So go get your SCT oil.
Use the code FALL10.
Yep.
FALL10 to get 10% off of your purchase. And so
is that just FALL capital? FALL?
You got it.
Number 10.
You got it.
Okay. Awesome.
So you guys have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you soon.
Love you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at The Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.